Thank you everybody for coming. This week we're starting a new Sefer Shemot. It's the end of the previous book. We know Yaakov and Yosef, and the whole entire 70 people came down to Mitzrayim, and this is the beginning of their slavery. Now it says in the Midrash, it says that they didn't start the slavery until every single person from that generation went out. Hashem waited for all those 70 people to die, and then the new generation was put into slavery. As long as one of them still lived, Mitzrayim did not subjugate the Jews. And it says the children of Israel, the Jews, multiplied, they're very fruitful. And even though Yosef died, which was their king, Elohim lo met ad kan leshano. Hashem did not die. Now we're going to deal with this. What does it mean exactly? What's the connection between the end of this midrash and the beginning? Well, first we have to understand, why did Mitzrayim wait till the last Jew died in order to put them into slavery? So we can understand with the following midrash. It says that once Yosef died, the Jews stopped doing Brit Mila. The Jews neglected the mitzvah of the Brit once Yosef HaTzadik died. Moshe Rabbeinu had to come all the way at the end, after slavery, when he took them out of Mitzrayim. He's the one that gave everyone a Brit. Why? Because everyone stopped getting Brit after Yosef died. And Hashem flipped the love that the Mitzrayim had towards the Jews, and he made it all into hatred. Now, the people that came down with Yaakov obviously had a Brit Mila. Yaakov was alive, he gave everyone the Brit Mila. But after that generation, they stopped giving Brits to their kids. It says, so the people of that generation that had the Brit Mila, they had a shield protecting them. They weren't being put into slavery because they had a Brit. And their Brit protected them from the shibud, from the slavery. But their kids, which they did not give Brit Milas to, did not have a protection from the slavery. Now you're going to ask me, between Yaakov dying and Yosef HaTzadik dying, right, they only stopped giving Brits after Yosef. So between Yaakov and Yosef, how many years was it? It was like almost, I think, more than 50 years. So there was a lot of kids born over there. So all those kids, the grandchildren of the Shvatim, all had Brit Milas as well. So why didn't Hashem wait for them to also pass away in order to start the slavery? So the answer is like this. Because those grandchildren of the Shvatim, even though they themselves had a Brit, but they didn't give their kids a Brit. Since they neglected the mitzvah to pass it on to their children, their own mitzvah was nullified. The Zera Shimshon calls this Avira Mechaba Mitzvah. This sin of not giving the kid the Brit, it erased and extinguished the protection of the mitzvah against slavery. They weren't able to be protected from the slavery. The end of the Midrash says, Yosef HaTzadik died, but Hashem did not die. What does it mean? Yosef died. How could Hashem die? It's bizarre to even think that a Kadosh Baruch Hu could die. Doesn't make sense. And why is this written that Yosef died but Hashem didn't? Why is it specifically written on the pasuk of Bnei Yisrael had a lot of kids? What's the connection? So the Zera Shimshon explains, B'derech Pshat, he says there's a Gemara in Bava Basra. The Gemara says that the Roman Empire put a decree on the Jews. The decree was, no more Brit. They're not allowed to have a Brit Milah. Miyon Shebashta Malchut. And the rabbis were thinking, maybe we should make a decree. No one is allowed to get married. No one is allowed to have kids. Why?
No Brit.
No Brit. So we see from the Gemara in Bava Basra that it was better to not have a kid than to have a kid without a Brit. That's how they were even thinking of making a decree to take it away. No more kids. Because you're not going to be able to give a Brit to the kid. They would, if you were to be found at that party, at that Brit Mila party, not even the person who's doing the Brit, not the kid, not the father, but everybody in the whole entire party instantly would be killed by the Romans. So they said, no one's going to be able to do a Brit, so maybe we should decree against the kids. So we see the importance of having a Brit Mila to the kid. So now we understand that when Yosef died, they said, we don't have anyone to rely on. Yosef was like their, their representative to the Mitzrayim. They had problems, they went to Yosef. The Mitzrayim are doing this, they're protesting, they don't like us, they're doing this. Now Yosef is gone. Their king is dead. So now they said, we have to fend for ourselves. We have to become stronger. The Brit makes us weaker. It's a physical fact that a person who gets a Brit becomes weaker. So they said, in order for us to be at our highest power, we have to stop giving ourselves a Brit. And based on this, was Hashem going to give us children now? Was Hashem supposed to save us? No. He was just supposed to act dead. Hashem says, you don't want to do my mitzvah of Brit Mila? Then why should I even be part of your lives? Why should I save you from Mitzrayim? Why should I take you out of slavery? But Hashem didn't do this. Hashem didn't act dead. That's what we mean in the Midrash. Hashem wasn't dead. Yosef might have died, but Hashem didn't. Because Hashem still heard our cries. He still took us out of Mitzrayim. And not only did He give us kids, but He gave us abundance of kids. We know we had 6 in one shot. And you know they went from 70 to 12 million. A lot. A lot. Millions and millions of kids. Hashem should have just totally said, you don't want to do Brit Milah? We saw in the Gemara. The Gemara said, better to not have kids than to have kids without a Brit. But Hashem says, I'll give you all the kids, I'll give you millions of kids, and I'll take you out of Mitzrayim. Now the second Midrash says, Hashem took the love that Mitzrayim had towards us, and He flipped it into hatred. Now the question is, what love did the Egyptians have? The Egyptians loved the Jews? He didn't love the Jews. The Egyptians, on the contrary, hated the Jews. Rashi says in Parashat Vayechi, why was the beginning of the Parsha closed? You know, last week's Parsha, usually there's a gap in between a Parsha, between one Parsha and the next. So Parashat Vayechi was closed because it was symbolizing that Yaakov Avinu, when he passed away, the eyes and the hearts of the Jews closed, meaning they were already into slavery. The Egyptians already started to oppress them. They already started putting them through slavery in a way, not really slavery, but they already, introducing the fact, exactly. So you soninotam. They already started to hate them. There was never a love between Mitzrayim and the Jews. So why does it say Hashem took the love and He flipped it for hatred? So the answer we can see from the Gemara in Sanhedrin. There was a conversation between the Caesar means the Roman king, the Caesar and the rabbi called Reb Tanchum. The Caesar told Reb Tanchum, he said, let us all be one nation. The Jews should join the Romans. We should all be one. Tanchum said, fine. You want to be one nation? We cannot switch to you. We cannot take away Brit Milah. If you want to be our nation, Ke'am Echad, like one nation, you have to make all the Romans get Brits. So what do we see from this Gemara? In order for two nations to become one, in order for two nations to become united, what do they have to do? Either all have a Brit Milah or all not have a Brit Milah. All circumcised or all non-circumcised. So when there's two nations that both don't have a Brit, it brings a love between them. So Mitzrayim, when they saw the Jews stopping to do the Brit Milah, so what should have happened? Should they have hated them or loved them? Loved them. So Hashem said, that love that I was supposed to happen between you guys and the Mitzrayim, I'm going to make that love into a hatred. They should have loved them. It made them all into one nation. They all didn't have a Brit now. Now you're going to tell me, but Mitzrayim did have a Brit. Who gave them the Brit? Yosef Tzaddik. But when was this? This was 73 years ago when the famine started. They wanted food? Brit Milah. That's what he told them. But 73 years passed. Everyone that probably got a Brit by then already died. 73 years. Long time. So Mitzrayim nowadays don't have a Brit. So they don't have a Brit. The Jews don't have a Brit. They should have had love between each other, but Hashem took it and He flipped it. He took the love and He switched it for hatred. Now, what was the mechanics? What exactly made the Egyptians hate them? They don't just hate the guy for no reason. Why did they hate them? So the Gemara in Perek Dalet in Me'ilah says that one time the Roman government made a decree on the Jews. Also, no more Brit. So a certain rabbi named Reb Ruvain, he went and he got like that type of hairstyle. He took out the sides of his hair and he grew out the whole top. It's called a komi hairstyle. He wanted to disguise himself.
A homie.
It's called komi hairstyle, and he wanted to disguise himself within the Romans. Because now they think that he's not a Jew. It's this weird Goyish hairstyle. So he goes over there and he tells them, someone who has an enemy, do you want him to be weak or you want him to be strong? And what do they all yell out? Weak. So they said, you want them to be weak? So then why are you making them stop doing the Brit? Let them continue doing the Brit, and with that, they're not going to be able to fight against you. Because the Brit makes them weaker. And they say, wow, Tav Amar, he's saying good, let's listen to him. And Bitul Gezerah, they took away the decree of no more Brit. So Adkan, that's what the Gemara says. So what do we see from here? That the Brit makes a person weaker. The Brit makes the person not at his full capacity of strength. So the Egyptians thought in their brain, they said, why are these Jews not getting a Brit? They're not getting a Brit because they want to rebel against us. They want to become stronger. Not that they want to join forces, be one nation, have a love. Yeah, they were supposed to love them, but they said, oh, what are these Jews doing? It's tricky Jews. They're trying to take it over us. And Paro says that in this week's Parsha. He says, Hava nidchak malo. Let us outsmart the Jews. Because it says maybe enemies are going to come and they're going to join the enemy and beat us. So what was Paro worried about? He was worried about maybe the Jews are going to join forces and go against us. And by stopping to do the Brit, they become stronger. Their bodies, physically, are going to be stronger than us. And that's why they hated the Jews. And instead of loving them for being one nation, all not circumcised, rather they hated them. Now what is the reason that the Jews stopped doing the Brit Mila? Why did the Jews nullify Brit Mila in Mitzrayim? So the Zera Shimshon brings down two explanations. So number one is from the Zohar. The Zohar says that Yosef, he said, I'm Yosef to his brothers. And his brothers were just looking at him with astonishment. And they're like, that's Yosef, our younger brother? He's the king of Mitzrayim, the ruler of the whole world. Everyone's coming down, bowing to him. Everyone's in servitude to him. How did he reach such a position? So he tells them, he says, Gashuna Elai. He says, come close to me. And the Zohar says, he showed them the Brit Mila. He said, this mitzvah is what got me to the level that I am. I achieved royalty through the Brit. So all the Jews thought, all the kids of the Shatim, they said, wow, look at that. The reward of doing Brit Mila achieves royalty. That's what they said. Yosef HaTzadik told us. That's how we reached that level. And they said, Yosef died. No more king. And they said this whole thing was a scam. We all have Brit, and yet not one of us is the king over the Goyim. Maybe Yosef was wrong. And they said, we don't need the Brit, fake news. Let's all stop doing the Brit. Shebiyot kulam ka'am echad. They said, if we're going to continue doing the Brit, the Egyptians are going to continue to hate us. Let us stop the Brit, make them love us. If we're not going to be able to rule them, let's join them. If you can't beat them, join them. That's what they said. If we're not going to be able to rule over them, if the Brit is not going to make us the king, then we have to join them. We have to not get circumcised, and we have to make a law between us and the Mitzrayim. Did that happen? No. Their plan failed. But Moshe Rabbeinu comes towards the end of Mitzrayim, and he does all the Asara Makot, and he takes them out, and they see, look at that, Moshe Rabbeinu, he's king. He was the first king. He led the Jewish nation out of Mitzrayim. He was their leader. And they said, look at him, he's the leader. How do you do that? Moshe Rabbeinu was born with the Brit. And they said, now we understand. Yosef didn't mean that the Brit gave him, the performance of Brit gave him royalty. No. He was born with the Brit. He was born with the Brit just like Moshe was born with the Brit. The only way you could achieve royalty is if you're born with the Brit. And they said we were wrong the whole time. We thought the Brit itself should give us Malchut, should make us the kings. But it's wrong. In order to be king, you have to be born with the Brit. And Moshe Rabbeinu showed them that you guys are wrong the whole time. And he gave all of them a Brit Mila. After they noticed they were wrong, they went back into Teshuvah and all got a Brit Mila. The second explanation is that the reason why they didn't want to get a Brit, like we said earlier, was because they said Yosef HaTzadik is not here anymore to protect us. So what do we have to do? We have to become strong. We have to stop doing the Brit. It's making us weak, and we have to fight for ourselves. Who should they have relied on? Kadosh Baruch Hu. Should have relied on Hashem. They didn't rely on Hashem. Rather, they said we're going to rely on our own bodies, on our own strength, and therefore we're going to be mevatel. We're going to nullify Brit Milah. Moshe Rabbeinu comes and he says, guys, you guys are all wrong. Asara Makot, Dam, Tzvardeya, Kinim. He's bringing all these supernatural plagues on the Mitzrayim. And they say, look at you. You guys are in servitude. You guys are your weakest state. And yet Hashem has the ability to go against nature and defeat Mitzrayim for you. Your mistake was you weren't supposed to believe in yourself. You're only supposed to believe in Hashem. You're supposed to have 100% bitachon. That Hashem is, you just have to listen to the mitzvot. Mitzvah is to get a brit, get the brit. But Hashem is going to deal with your enemies. And He says, all of you right now, before we leave Mitzrayim, are going to get a brit. Because I want to be magdil l'nes. I want to maximize the miracle, says Moshe Rabbeinu, and show that even at our weakest state, when a person gets a brit, he just went through a surgery. So he's in pain. He can't fight. He says, Moshe Rabbeinu says, at our weakest state, we're going to leave Mitzrayim and show the whole entire world that it's not us, but it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And he said, Yatsu miyad Ramal le'neko Mitzrayim. We know the Jews went forth with an upraised hand before the eyes of all Egypt. And they left Mitzrayim with power. Whose power? Kadosh Baruch Hu. So Bezrat Hashem, we'll all be able to attain this level of bitachon and realize that we're in this world to do what Hashem wants. We have to fulfill the Ratzon Hashem, the will of God. Even though we think, it's not good for us, it's not healthy, it makes us weaker. No. Everything is up to Hashem. And we have to all believe that Hashem has everything on our side. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen. Amen.